What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with another Seattle Mariners post-game recap. I will be talking today about the Mariners 10-10 tie against the San Francisco Giants in their fourth spring training game. Before I go any further, as always, do me a favor, hit the like button. That helps out the videos a lot, gets it out to more people. And if you're new here, please hit subscribe. I'm 15 subs away from 2,700. Would love to hit that before the MLB season starts. If you're new here, I'll have post-game recaps up for most spring training games, every regular season game, and any breaking Mariners news. I will discuss it. Also, guys, the SeatGeek code is available. You see it in the description down below. Go to SeatGeek, download the app, go to the website, use promo code JSTrident for $20 off your first-time purchase with SeatGeek. Great time to be buying tickets. Baseball starting up, spring training, college basketball, hockey playoffs are going to be coming up soon, and NBA. So a lot of stuff going on right now. So use that promo code to save you guys a few bucks on tickets. Did get a chance yesterday to do a video again. Should be back up soon, so I apologize for the poor lighting here. I'm using literally a camping light to try and give me some sort of light. Should be back up and running full go here in a little bit. So hopefully by the regular season for the Mariners, I'll be back up and going, but doing the best I can with the setup I've got at the moment. So the Mariners tied the Giants today 10-10. Some good offensive performances. I would like to talk about some encouraging stuff. Obviously, anytime you score 10 runs, 15 hits, and draw 6 walks, and also belt, I believe, 3 home runs, there's going to be some good things to talk about. So let's get into it first. Dylan Moore was 2 for 3, had a nice game. Dom Canzone, 1 for 2 with a 3-run home run and a walk. Obviously fantastic to see for Dom Canzone. It was interesting. I was on Sunday. I think it was just on Twitter. I was on with Jake from You Love to See It. Sub to his channel if you haven't. And Ty from Locked On Mariners joined us. Obviously, if you're not subbed to Locked On Mariners, you need to do that as well. And, he made a good point, Ty did, that there's not a lot of unknowns with the Mariners roster. There's some injury questions if guys can stay healthy. The Mitches, Garver, Haniger, Polanco, some bullpen stuff, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the injuries. But there's not really a question of ability with anybody on this team, except maybe Dom Canzone. He's kind of the one guy that we don't really know what he's going to be. Now, I'm not saying that guys won't underperform or overperform elsewhere in the roster, but for the most part, it's kind of known. Maybe Ty France would be the other one, but even there, Ty is a veteran. We kind of know what we're getting with Ty. Canzone, we really don't have any idea. Is he a player who's going to take a step forward? Are you just going to kind of get the player you got last year, which was, serviceable platoon outfielder, not a great defender, the bat comes and goes a little bit where, he could be a productive player, but not anybody that you're super excited about. And so far, Canzone's off to a nice start this spring. Now, you guys know I don't put a ton of stock into spring performance. We've seen guys have ice cold springs and do nothing and have great seasons. Guys have great springs and do nothing. It doesn't matter that much. Like I said, that a lot of that's for veterans and established players. Some of the younger guys are guys that haven't proved themselves yet. I mean, do I think because Dom Canzone hit a 3-run home run today, he's going to be an MVP? No, but it is an encouraging sign. On Sunday, he had a double off a tough lefty that almost got out of the park. So a nice start to the spring for Dom Canzone. Kind of maybe a wild card player on this team if there is one. If you can get Canzone to take a couple steps forward, you have a pretty good baseball player on your hands. If you don't, he has some value as kind of a fourth outfielder platoon guy, but not, nothing amazing. So hopefully a step forward for Canzone would be huge. A good start to his spring training and hitting that 3-run home run today. So that is really good to see. Mitch Garver went deep. Good to see for Mitch Garver, just going to be staying healthy. The DH position should help him with that, being able to get more at bats. So good to see the pop from Mitch Garver. And then the other home run was hit by Michael Chavis, who went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. And again, Chavis is a guy that, do I think is going to make the roster? No, but with Luis Urias, who, good news is I'm going to talk about injuries. Urias did play yesterday in DH, but with some, maybe injury concerns, Chavis is a guy that, along with Brian Anderson, who I don't think has played yet this spring, Samad Taylor, some guys that, could be battling for a roster spot. So Chavis was 2 for 3 with a home run. Ryan Bliss, 3 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs scored. Really good to see from Ryan Bliss, who is probably, of all the Mariners prospects, Bliss isn't as touted as the, Cole Youngs, Colt Emersons, Lizardo Montez, and guys like that necessarily. But, he's the closest of any Mariners prospect to making a debut in 2024. If, anything's to go wrong at third and Urias Rojas or whoever else is at third just struggles, Bliss is a guy that could come up, or with an injury, God forbid, Bliss could easily be the first guy up. So really, really good to see. And Cole Young with a hit as well, 1 for 2, and he had the game-winning double yesterday. Again, Cole Young certainly not going to make the team, probably will not play for the Mariners in the MLB Mariners in 2024, but it's really cool to see him get some at-bats in spring training. I'm looking forward to going to a couple games and watching Cole Young play. So, and Harry Ford had a hit and a walk as well. So he's had a nice spring. Threw out a runner the other day from his knees, looked great. Ryan Bliss is having a nice spring. Samad Taylor's shown some good signs, and Canzone's having a good spring. So offensively, some pretty good numbers here for the Mariners. Just looking over the box score here. Did not get a chance to watch this game. Listen, 1:00 weekday games are tough for any of us. We're working our 9 to 5s, trying to make a living. So, and I'm going to be honest, guys, I'll go back and watch some highlights, but it's really hard for me to go back and watch a spring training game. It's hard sometimes to go back and watch regular season games. If you know the result, it's fun to go see the highlights, but for the most part, when the game's over, it's over. You kind of know what happens. So, I'm certainly not going to go back and watch a ton of spring training games, but some good encouraging signs from the offense. George Kirby struggled, was actually taken out in the first inning and then came back in. I did not know you could do that. I guess I don't know if it's a new spring training rule or not, or if it's just, obviously it's not something you can do in the regular season, but it's kind of cool that they allowed him to come back in for spring training. I think that's good. I would say in general with any player, if you want someone to come back into a game, let them do it, right? Like it's essentially practice baseball. You're just trying to get guys repetition. So I don't think there's any real concern doing that. But Kirby pitched a third of an inning, gave up 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, no walks, no Ks. He was replaced by Jared Bayless. And then it's Jared Bayless, right? Let me make sure I got that right. Some of the guys that are new to the roster, and Jared Bayless. He's been around the block a little bit too, in terms of pitching. So he's been where's Bayless been? I know I've seen that name before. No, I guess not. Just the Mariners in spring training. I guess he's just been a Mariner the entire time. Okay. I swear I've seen him pitch somewhere, but obviously not. But anyways, beside the point. So Kirby came out after that. Bayless replaced him, got the final 2 outs of the first inning, and then Kirby came back in for the second inning. So didn't know you could do that, but I think that's completely fine to do that during spring training, getting guys reps. Not worried about George Kirby's outing at all. Kirby would fall under what the kind of established players. You know what you have in George Kirby. Spring training outings for him don't really matter. Not only do I not care about the results, but he might have just thrown exclusively a pitch he's working on just to get some reps with it. So, maybe he threw that knuckleball that he threw last year 15 times. I don't know, probably didn't, but the results just don't matter for him. He could have that outing every day in spring training, and George Kirby is still in this rotation, 0 doubt. So not worried at all there. And it's going to happen in the regular season, right? He's going to get hit at some point. Every player has that happen to them. So nothing to be even remotely concerned about with George Kirby. So if you are, just, he's fine. Don't worry about it. Trent Thornton with a nice outing. He went an inning, struck out 2, as did Carlos Vargas, who went with had a shutout inning with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Vargas is interesting. I've talked about a lot of these relievers. One of the reasons I talk about these guys a lot is it's where some roster competition might happen a little bit. Is not the back end of the bullpen as much, but the bullpen in general. And there's some spots open. Trent Thornton's a guy. We saw him last year, came over from Toronto. I thought threw the ball pretty well. Bit of a home run issue. Like, he's not perfect by any means. He's not necessarily the guy to feel comfortable with in the 9th inning, but ran a really nice strikeout to walk ratio. He's got good stuff. As far as 5th, 6th inning goes, I think he is a solid guy to have there in the bullpen. Maybe if you need someone to get you out of a jam in the 3rd inning, maybe you're up like 8-5, your starter just is getting shelled. Trent Thornton can come in, get you out of a jam early in the game. save your better relievers for later if you want to. Vargas is interesting. Definitely the stuff is there with Carlos Vargas. He came over in the Eugenio Suarez trade, and I really liked his stuff back then after watching some video of him after that trade happened. I was really impressed with Carlos Vargas. Still not wild about that trade, right? I think we can all agree that, it was certainly a salary dump deal. And, I don't think you should be trading, regardless salary or not, you're trading regulars for a everyday position player for reliever isn't necessarily always my cup of tea, but Vargas does look like, a guy that can contribute. Got to get the command control in line, but if he can do that, I mean, the stuff, Thornton looks solid. Trent Thornton's a guy I like. Vargas is a guy that could legitimately be, I think, a back end reliever that is getting saves and getting strikeouts for you in the eighth, ninth inning of big games. I think the stuff is honest to goodness that good. So I am really, really looking forward to seeing Carlos Vargas this spring. We saw Ty Buttery yesterday. He was touching 96, 97, 98. He used to pitch with the Angels. Good to see his velocity back up. That's someone that could make this team and be in competition for the roster as well. Talked about, Jonathan Diaz looked really good a couple games ago. So there's a lot of guys in this bullpen, that have flashed some pretty good stuff so far in spring. And Vargas is definitely one of them. I don't think we've seen Bizardo yet unless he pitched yesterday. But all guys that I think can definitely have some success and possibly make this team. Nice shutout inning from Taylor Saucedo. I think that was his first appearance of the spring, so that was good to see. Let me go back to yesterday's game, actually, real quick. The game they won 2-0 because I actually didn't really get much of a chance to look over it. Nice of the Mariners get their first spring training win. Okay, we saw, Voth pitched yesterday. Castillo was solid. Yeah, Buttery shutout inning with 2 Ks. And then who else pitched in this game? Joey Kreibel, who came over from the Orioles as well. He had a shutout innings with a couple strikeouts. That's another guy that, obviously not all these guys are going to make it, but good depth guys that, again, I talk about, I feel like every video, but there's just not a ton to talk about in spring training recaps. I talk about all the time, but last year, we thought Penn Murphy, Diego Castillo, all these guys were locks for the bullpen, and you end up getting, big contributions from Saucedo, Spire, Justin Topa. So there's always room for guys like this. So, especially on a team that the roster is pretty set, I think for the most part, what the pitching staff is going to be. We know the regular everyday players. There might be some positional battles depending on how healthy Luis Urias is, and maybe for a final outfield spot. But for the most part, we know the everyday guys. The bullpen does still have some legitimate competition to fill out what I think will probably be an eight-man bullpen, would be my guess. We obviously know the names that will be in there: Spire, Saucedo, Munoz, Brash. I'm going to talk about Brash in a second. Santos. But yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to follow. Really, really enjoying following some of these bullpen arms throughout spring. I think that's going to be a real fun battle. And I'm really impressed with some of these arms. They look solid. So we'll see what ends up happening. Injuries want to be the last thing I want to talk about a little bit. The big three that we, I guess you could say 4. Julio has not played yet this spring. I even forgot what it was, a wrist or something like that they were just being a little cautious of. Scott sounded optimistic that he'd get some at-bats this week. Not too worried about that one at all. That's one I'll worry about if there needs to be a worry down the road, but right now seems fine. Santos started throwing today, or playing catch today. So, that's good. It's encouraging. So hopefully we see maybe a couple spring appearances before the regular season, and hopefully Gregory Santos is good to go by opening day. Luis Urias did DH yesterday. I believe he's having some shoulder inflammation, which was keeping him out. So obviously DHing, probably still having some issues throwing from third base, but encouraging that he was able to DH at least would make me think with still, over a month to go before the regular season, that he should be back on the mend and ready to go for opening day. And again, regardless of what you think of the trade, a healthy Luis Urias probably is the Mariners' best option to platoon with Rojas. Chavis has had a nice spring. So is Samad Taylor. But, Urias is the best bet. So the Mariners definitely want him healthy. Matt Brash is the other one. Scott was very vague. Scott Service was very vague about it today with talking about it, just kind of no updates. Yesterday, he seemed, I think it was yesterday, it was maybe a quote from a couple days ago, seemed fairly optimistic that we'd see Brash soon. But I think the vagueness is what's getting people nervous. Again, until I see anything. And I think Scott also mentioned the other day that there was nothing torn or anything like that, just some soreness. So I mean, something to be nervous about. Yeah, I don't think we should just go, oh, it's nothing. But again, until we hear something more, I just tend not to stress about these things until we have definitive evidence that we know they're going to miss time. Listen, it's the first week of spring training. If there is a guy that is, you know, like in Julio's position where he's not 100%, there is zero reason to throw him out there. Now, I think they need reps in spring. I think it's important, but we're in week 1 of spring training. There are still, 30 spring training games left. Maybe not that many, but, 25, 26 games left. So there's time to get these guys all some reps. There's no reason to throw them in there if you're not confident they're 100% and then risk the injury getting worse. So in terms of all those guys, encouraging that Urias was able to DH, Santos is throwing. I think Julio's fine. And I'll worry about Matt Brash when there's more reason to worry. If we start hearing he's going to see a doctor, getting some MRI stuff done, and they're concerned about certain things, then I'll panic a little bit. But until then, I'm just kind of treating it as, not out of sight, out of mind. I think that's the wrong word because it's just, we don't know. And I'm not going to panic about info I just don't know about, or even remotely try to speculate with zero medical expertise on what an injury might or might not be. Guys, pitching is a tough job. Matt Brash has a, fairly violent motion, throwing a lot of sliders. Like, these guys are all injury risks when they go out to the mound. So, nothing would shock me. And it's also not surprising that they're trying to be, very, very careful with it as well. I hate doing this because it's like, I say don't speculate, but I'm going to speculate. Let's just say this is a hypothetical. Let's say Brash is hurt and he's gone for a while. What would that mean for the Mariners bullpen? Obviously, it's a blow. Matt Brash is one of the best relievers in the American League. I do think they can survive it. I will say that. I wouldn't necessarily, if you think the Mariners are going to win the division, that wouldn't necessarily change your thoughts. I don't think that should. I think if Santos is healthy, Munoz is healthy, you still feel pretty confident in the back end. You've still got Gabe Spire, and you've got some other arms that look pretty solid here so far in spring. So I think it's something you could work around. It wouldn't be good, but I don't think it would be like, oh my gosh, the season is over, devastating either. But again, we'll worry about when that happens. Mariners tie the Giants today 10-10. Nice offensive performances from Ryan Bliss, Dom Canzone, Michael Chavis. And Mitch Garver again with the home run as well. That's good to see. George Kirby struggled. Not going to be worried about that at all. And some nice bullpen performances, Trent Thornton, Carlos Vargas. So good to see. Every day is one day closer to baseball. So have a great night, everybody. Remember to like the video. Remember to comment your thoughts on it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and use the SeatGeek code if you're going to any games here recently. Have a great night, everybody, and go Mariners. Peace.